Hey everyone, what is going on? And welcome back to another meta, guys. So we're going to be in the Ultra League today. So the Ultra League as well as the Sunshine Cup begin tomorrow. So this is my favorite league. If you've been watching me for a while, you know I've hit Legend multiple times in the Ultra League. Absolutely love it. Now, it may not be your favorite. I mean, at the end of the day, it is what I like to call the XL League. I have seen it called that before. So maybe you don't like it, maybe you do, but there's some good non-XL teams you can use as well, and we'll talk to that when we get onto the solid team options. But let's go ahead and just dive right into it. The S-Rank, we got a couple Steel boys, a few of them. Reggie Steel, Steelix, and Kabalion, but Reggie Steel, of course, it's no stranger. It's been around since Season 1. They nerfed it, and then they brought it back with better moves and things like that. Reggie Steel is just an absolute monster. You could get away with going with the Hundo, where it's like non-XL, but only a few XLs in it. That will get the job done, but if you have a really good rank one that's just going to be tanky, it's going to be better. But Reggie Steel, really good Pokemon. Steelix is new for this season. It existed before. Maybe you saw it here or there, not too often, but now it's just all over the place with Breaking Swipe. It's just so good. I don't know why they gave it Breaking Swipe. Listen, I'm not against it. I just feel like Breaking Swipe probably was reserved for Pokemon that needed more bulk to them, right? For example, Heliolisk, which it did get. But no, they gave a really tanky Pokemon Breaking Swipe, and it just makes it tankier. It's broken. Steelix is absolutely broken. But it is what it is. It's just gonna probably be here for a while. I don't see, unless they nerf Breaking Swipe, but Steelix is just so OP. Next up we have Kabalion. Kabalion, one of my favorite Pokemon to use in this meta. I absolutely love how fast it is. Gets to those Sacred Sword attacks with double kick. You all know Kabalion. That's a non-XL one. I use a raid one, so I don't have like a good IV one. So you can go that route as well. Then we have Cresselia, another great non-XL Pokemon. Cresselia is so tanky. Just such a good Pokemon. Zygarde Complete is very interesting because, well, alright, so if you're like me, you don't have enough, cells to transform in not only the complete form, but to transform it into the other form, the 50% form. I probably have like 6 cells. But there are people that have complete form, and yes, it's just so good. It all is to it. It's just so good. And you might see this. It all depends how many cells people get, and if they're able to transform it. Maybe they have a good IV one, maybe they don't. But just such a good Pokemon. Then we have Virizion, another great Pokemon as well. We've talked about it before in the past. I use Virizion a lot as well. So moving on to the A rank, we have Charizard. Charizard, I either destroy Charizard or I get destroyed by it, especially if it has energy advantage, even against the water types. I mean, that Blast Burn from a Shadow is no joke. So Charizard really strong with that Wing Attack, because Wing Attack did receive a buff a couple seasons ago, I believe it was. It's just such a powerful Pokemon. Or was it last season? 2 seasons ago? I don't remember. But it's just such a good Pokemon. Giratina altered, another great legendary Pokemon, non-XL Pokemon, but Giratina is so good. It's good, it has multiple moves. It has Dragon Breath or Shadow Sneak as the fast move. And charge moves, I mean, of course, it could have Ancient Power, which is really good against like Pidgeot. But it also has Dragon Claw and it has Shadow Sneak. Also Shadow Force, but speaking of Pidgeot is probably the best flyer in this meta. Certainly my favorite. Noctowl was rarely seen in the Ultra League, and now that it was nerfed with Sky Attack, you're not going to see it, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, Pidgeot, such a good flyer. I love Brave Bird and Feather Dance. I love both moves, right? Because you could either go for the nuke, which sometimes sneaks through, or you could bait. Maybe it gets a shield, maybe it doesn't, right? Galiciopod received multiple updates this season. So it has Aerial Ace, it also has X-Scissors. So both of those moves doing better. The thing is, you need liquidation on it. So, like, do you go with X's or do you go with Aerial Ace? I'm generally curious to hear what you have to say about that, because both moves are really good. So which move do you prefer? I mean, I know when I used Galiciopod as a safe swap, and it is a great safe swap, I used it with Aerial Ace. I didn't use X-Scissor, but people were asking me in the chat when I was streaming, why not go with X-Scissor? So maybe a lot of people prefer X-Scissor. Both moves are really good, I think. But then we have Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini, another really good Pokemon, of course. going to be doing well against that Charizard, right? Which is what you really, really want to do. Just such a great typing and everything else. Defense Deoxys, I personally have a rank 1 Defense Deoxys, really tanky, really strong Pokemon. Moving on to the B rank, we do have the Regirock. So interesting Pokemon to see. Regirock, pretty good. I mean, you want a Pokemon for Charizard, Regirock is probably a good way to go. I've used it a couple times. I haven't used it too often, but I've seen it quite often. And it's a pretty good Pokemon. Swampert, of course, as we all know, Swampert's really good. It's always been good with that Hydro Cannon and Earthquake. Just such a strong Pokemon. Alolan Sandslash is another good one. Ever since it got Drill Run, it's been good, right? Before it had Bulldoze, which I guess you would see it occasionally, but now that it has Drill Run, you used to see it all the time. Then we have Walrein. So Walrein did receive a nerf, but it's still a good Pokemon. It received a nerf a few seasons ago. You all know that, but I guess it's still a really good Pokemon. Dragonite, Shadow Dragonite I like using. I've used Shadow Dragonite in the lead before. I love that. The team was Shadow Dragonite with Skuntank and Jellicent, and sometimes I use Shadow Dragonite with Registeel and then like either Jellicent or Skuntank. But yeah, I'm sure you've seen that team before. I've used that team with success as well. Then we have Skuntank or Shadow Skuntank. Love this Pokemon. It does get Trailblaze now. I don't know if you want Trailblaze over Flamethrower though. I feel like I see Flamethrower more so than I do Trailblaze, but if you have a Swampert against it, you do have to respect that Trailblaze. So the fact that it could have it makes Skuntank even better, right? Even if you're not running it, because it does threaten the shield from the Swampert. So really good Pokemon there. Other options, we have Greedent. Greedent received Mud Shot this season, just really fast, really tanky, Body Slam spam, you all know it. Then we have Aurorus. Ever since it got Meteor Beam, has been pretty solid. Double is really good. I think Double is a great save swap. Mandibuzz, of course, really good Pokemon. I guess it's better this season than it has been because of the Aerial-Ace buff, but Mandibuzz is just such a tank. That's why it's really good. If it wasn't tanky, it probably wouldn't really be that good, but because it is, it's really good. Poliwrath, ever since it had the community day, got counter, has been pretty interesting to see. I like Poliwrath. I actually built a Shadow one not too long ago and used it in the Ultra League, so I'll probably be trying it again. Jellicent, I've used a lot as well, and I've hit Legend with Jellicent multiple seasons, but it's a great Pokemon, but because there's like normal types that you see, like Pidgeot, right? It's going to struggle against the normal types. Pidgeot, Greedent, Double. If you run into those, Jellicent, I used to love it as a save swap, but I feel like, I don't know how I feel about the save swap nowadays, just because if you're running Hex, which is what I do, you really don't want to see those normal types. But it is a really good Pokemon, especially with an energy advantage. Shadow Gliscor, or the regular one, really strong as well. I've used Shadow Gliscor myself. Scrafty, another good counter user. I think I like Virizion and Cobalion more than Scrafty, but Scrafty's still another option you could have. And then we have Guzzlord. Guzzlord, let's go. Guzzlord's coming back for Halloween. I can't wait to get the shiny. I love shiny Guzzlord. I also need it for Pokemon Home. That's irrelevant for this video, but I collect the shinies in the main games as well, so I do need one of those. So hopefully I can get 2 of them. Then we have Heliolisk. So Heliolisk received Breaking Swipe this season, and that's what I was talking about when I was talking about Steelix, right? Give Breaking Swipe to Pokemon that need that defense boost. That's the way I look at it. That's why Steelix is overpowered. Whereas Heliolisk I think is good, but it's not like top meta like Steelix is. But it is a really good electric type to have. And then we have Alolan Ninetales. Love Alolan Ninetales. If you're looking for a charm user, probably the best one to go with. And Trevenant. Trevenant, ever since it got the nerf, it's become less and less relevant, but it still exists and it's still good. You see it more so in the Ultra League than you do in the Great League. But that's going to be the Ultra League for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the solid team options. So the first team, I've hit Legend with this team multiple times. It's going to be Cobalion in the lead with Pidgeot and Jellicent in the back. So, I generally with this team, I stay in with Cobalion against everything, unless if it's, you got to switch out if there's a Virizion or Defense Deoxys, right? Or Poliwrath. Basically any counted user you have to switch out. I stay in against Trevenant even though you lose that matchup. I stay in against Giratina. You could actually beat Giratina depending on the moveset. If they're not running Shadow Sneak or Shadow Force, you could beat Giratina. It's a close matchup. But yeah, just generally stay in. I would say most of the time, when I battle an electric type, it is in the lead. Like Ampharos, for example. I didn't put Ampharos on this list, but Ampharos or even Galvantula, I would say most of the time it's in the lead. That's why the backline has good play, right? Because they're weak. The back is weak to electric, so you do have to keep that in mind. But if you see it in the lead, usually I haven't had a problem. Double electric could be a thing with Heliolisk and Magnezone now, but yeah. So either way, let's move on to the next team. It's going to be Galiciopod Double Steel. I think this is a really solid team. Galiciopod going to be resisting those fighting attacks. The backline is weak to fighting. Registeel can still do well even against fighting types because of its moveset and its bulk. Galiciopod, I think it's a good job to lure out a fighting type with Registeel. And then the next team is going to be Double Electric. Speaking of Double Electric, this would actually really counter the team that I've hit Legend with multiple times, Cobalion, Pidgeot, and Jellicent, because you have the Trevenant, which will beat the Cobalion, and then both electric types in the back. Pidgeot and Jellicent are not going to like it, right? So I think that's going to be interesting. I just need to get a good Heliolisk. I checked all mine. Yes, they were spawning at GoFest, but we didn't know the moveset during GoFest, so I wasn't going for it, right? If we knew that Heliolisk was getting Breaking Swipe, I would have went for a good Helioptile, but they didn't reveal it until after GoFest. But either way, it's a great team. I think that could be a fun team to use. Next up, we have a team that I went 10-0 with this season. So, going to be Steelix in the lead with Galiciopod as a safe swap, and then Toxicroak. Toxicroak, I feel like Toxicroak is a really good anti-meta Pokemon, right? Because it's going to do well against Cobalion and Virizion, resisting all of those moves. Sludge Bomb going to do well against the fairies like Tapu Fini if you happen to see it. It's just such a great Pokemon. It doesn't like ghost types. Obviously it doesn't like Charizard, flying types either, but I think it's a really good Pokemon if it gets on the right Pokemon. And then the next team is going to be a really good non-XL team. For those of you looking for non-XL Pokemon, I think this is a really good team. It's still expensive because we have 2 legendary Pokemon, but we got Swampert with Giratina and Cresselia. Super tanky team in the back. Swampert in the lead. I think it's great. Depending on, I honestly, I really like Giratina as the safe swap. The movesets for the back Pokemon depend. I wouldn't go with Future Sight and Cresselia, and the reason for that is because you have Swampert for the Charizard, right? Or Talonflame if you happen to find it, or even Skeledirge. Whereas Cresselia obviously gets walled by fire types if it doesn't run Future Sight. Because you have the Swampert coverage, you generally don't have to worry about that. And Giratina still also has play against those as well. The moveset on Giratina really depends what you're looking for. Dragon Breath is great, Shadow Claw is great, Dragon Claw. You definitely want Dragon Claw, but then whether you go Ancient Power if you want it for like the Pidgeot, or you want to go Shadow Sneak, really up to you. And then the next team is going to be Double Duck in the back with Skuntank and Guzzlord, and then we have Deoxys in the lead. So it is Double Duck, but Skuntank is not weak to Fairy, and it's doing super effective damage towards Fairy, like towards, for example, the Tapu Fini, or if you happen to run into an Alola Ninetales, whether that has Charm, a Powder Snow, and then of course Deoxys. Really tanky. I think these are some pretty good teams. But yeah, let me know what team you plan on running in the Ultra League. Are you playing the Ultra League, or will you be playing the Sunshine Cup? So for me, I'm going to be starting with the Sunshine Cup just to try it out. And then I might go over to Ultra League. But if I'm having success with Sunshine, I'm going to stay in that. But we'll see. Either way, that will be it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.